Hi, Trish Perry, your results coach. I was about 7 years old and I was skipping home from school without a care in the world. Let me clarify that. I was skipping and throwing papers from my teachers. When I got home, I handed him all gold star papers and he seemed to be very pleased. Unbeknownst to me, my Aunt Patsy was following me in the car and she was picking up all my discarded papers. Well, none of those discarded papers had stars on them. When she got home, she handed them to my mom and they laughed and they never showed my dad. I had a perfect plan. So this went on until I was about 12 years old. And at that point, you go from getting number grades to getting letter grades. And so all of a sudden, there was an incongruency between the A's that I handed my dad in the papers that I got and the B's that were on my report card. So one day, my dad said in a very stern voice, "Patricia Ann, why is it that you showed me all A's and yet you have B's on your report card?" I just stared at him and my eyes started to water. And this is when I was introduced to the true meaning of accountability. So my mom said to me in a very soft voice, and she was from the South, "Patricia Ann, you have to be accountable for all of your work, not just the good work. You have to be able to show us all of your work." Now, accountability and honesty are very important in our family, and I expect you to have both impeccable accountability and impeccable honesty. And I just looked at her and I said, "But Mom, he'll yell at me." Her response was, "Well, Patricia Ann, if you lie, he'll be even madder. You cannot hide your bad work and then just show your good work. Basically, you're putting off the consequences. And the consequences are going to be much worse if you lie." While this was a really good lesson to learn at age 12, it was hard, but it has served me really well. So Jean Grimman writes, "Accountability is expensive, but the lack of accountability is even more costly." So take these two examples. The first example happened in 2014 when Toyota had to pay $1.2 billion for covering up the safety issue that they had that killed 90 people and injured hundreds more. And then in 2021, Boeing had to pay over $2.5 billion for the two plane crashes that happened because Boeing covered up their issues in the 737 MAX. So while I tell you the story about me skipping along and throwing my papers and it sounds innocent enough, it's actually not. If my mom had not told me about that accountability and honesty, I have no idea how I would have grown up. And I think that not telling your kids about accountability and holding them accountability can lead to the Toyota and the Boeing issues. So the question is, how do you hold yourself accountable? Personally, when I'm even thinking about not being accountable, I just ask myself one question: what would my mom and dad do? And that answer is that they would be accountable 100% of the time. So have you talked to your kids about being accountable? How do you hold yourself accountable? I would love to hear your story. peace, joy, and accountability.